So I finished my lunch and I washed the dishes, and I've got a friend coming over this afternoon. And so I'm going to do my vlog, hopefully get it done before my friend shows up. I'm just stepping outside to turn on the heater in the bus because we're planning to fire up the wood stove and roast marshmallows on the fire. It's a lot easier to fire up the wood stove if it's already kind of warm in here, I find. So I'm going to fire up the heater first. Whew. Because it's cold in here. My goodness. It was minus 20 this morning. That is seriously cold. So if I get this place heated up a little bit, it'll be a lot easier to come out here and start the fire. Oh, it's cold out here. I have a topic for today. Yes. It's about manners. Courtesy and manners. Hang on while I shut this stupid bus. It's so difficult to shut. I really want a better door. You have to hit it so hard. I want to talk about manners. Now, I'm not talking about being nice to people. I'm not talking about helping someone out when they needs it, or opening the door, or stopping to give somebody a push in the snow, or helping them pick something up when they drop it, or giving them a hug when they're having a bad day. That's not the kind of manners I'm talking about. I'm talking about lip service to manners. Please and thank you. And how are you today? Those in particular. I've been heavily trained with thank you. And I think thank you has value because you're saying to somebody, I recognize that you didn't do that out of obligation, you did that out of kindness. And I think that in that context, thank you has value as a noise. But a lot of the time, though, these verbal noises are just that. And a lot of people do drop them, like, hey, could you get that for me? They don't say, please get that for me. Please is something you use in a case like that when you're dealing with somebody that maybe doesn't give a damn about you, or you don't have a relationship with them, or you're trying to ingratiate yourself. And then, how are you? There's another example. There are people who say, how are you? And you're sitting down to coffee, and they actually want you to start telling them how you are. Well, that has value. But it's not a substitute for hello, or have a nice day. And yet, that's how people are using it. To go, hi, how are you? And then they're gone. And there is only one answer to that question. Fine, how are you? That is the only answer. Any other answer, you're being a downer, you're being a negative. You know, you can go from fine to great or fantastic or yeah, I'm good. But you can't say, actually, my dog died, my wife is leaving me, I'm feeling horrible. For one thing, they've left before you can get it all out. For another thing, they really don't want to know. They don't want to sit down and talk about how miserable you are today. Good friends already know. They don't need to ask, and they don't ask it that way. They're like, okay, so how are you today? Because they know. Just don't use how are you in place of hello or have a nice day, please. It bothers me when I go places and it's casual acquaintance, or a service industry, or you know, there's a business relationship, like it's a nurse or it's well, for me it's mostly nurses, or it could be a storekeeper, or I don't know, you know, a variety of people that you hardly know that you're interacting with because you have business to deal with. And they're saying, how are you? And I'm like, I don't know, because I hadn't stopped to think about how I am, and I'm not going to say I'm fine unless I've already checked to see if I'm fine, and I don't spend my time thinking about how I am. I'm not even sure what how means. How do you do that, I get. But, it's a dumb question. That brings me to please. I got into that one this morning. I call out to my husband to let him know that when he takes the snowsuit off of the little dog, he should undo the Velcro strips, because it's first thing in the morning, you're half asleep, you start dressing the dog only to find out that those stupid Velcro straps are around the toes and you can't get his feet into the booties. And the time to take those things, when you take the dogs out of the suit, you have to unstrap those Velcro in order to let his feet loose. So that is the time to unstrap them. And it's the time you're going to think of it. So I say to him, could you undo the Velcro on the dog's snowsuit as he walks in the room? Well, I don't know if he heard, I'm not sure. Maybe I said, when you undress the dog, I'm not sure. But he's like, I thought you wanted me to come in there and do something. All I know is you're just bitching at me. And, I got into that like a pit bull with his teeth into a bone, because I'm feeling salty. Because I woke up with, in a nightmare, which, in the nightmare, it was his fault that the experience was happening, and I was still feeling a little mad at him because I hadn't had breakfast yet, because it was a simple request that suddenly I'm just bitching. And I says, no, I'm communicating with you. I'm trying to tell you something. He's like, no, as far as I'm concerned, you're just bitching. And I says, you've been bitched at enough. You ought to know the difference by now. And it's like, just because a woman has something to say doesn't mean that she's just making noise for a power trip or for some kind of personal gratification. I'm not saying this because I feel like making your day miserable. I just want you to unstrap the Velcro when you take off the snowsuit, because you're the one who does it. And communication with this man is like that all the time. It's just constant. And I was thinking about, and I realized that I hadn't said, please, when you take off the snowsuit, could you please try to remember? And I know it's probably very difficult, and I'm awful sorry to sound so assertive about it, because women are supposed to be meek and mild and not tell you what to do. But, it would be just so awfully nice of you if you could possibly and please take the Velcro straps off. I mean, why would I do that? Why would I make this whole long string of noise? And that's what's expected of people, especially women. We're expected to debase ourselves before we make a statement or a comment or a request in order to not sound like we're in a bad mood. How about resting bitch face? What's resting bitch face? Except, oh, you didn't arrange your face into a pleasant smile for me. You must be in a bad mood. No, I'm not in any mood at all. I'm in a bad mood now. But I wasn't in a bad mood before you called me in a bad mood. I wasn't in any mood at all. I was simply focusing on something, concentrating. And you ruined my concentration to complain about the fact that I wasn't smiling at you. And I don't think men get complained about because they didn't say the word please, because they didn't debase themselves and ingratiate themselves before making a request, because they didn't apologize for having an opinion. I think that's something that we do to women. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if your experience has been different about that, because as a woman, I really don't know what men experience in that regard. But it's women who tend to complain about it. I've also been told, that I don't say please often enough by another friend who complained that I wasn't saying please when I asked for stupid little things like, oh, pass the salt. I thought about it. It's because please seems to me like such a pointless, empty word. I'm a really nice person. I give presents. I always share what I have. If I'm hungry and you're visiting, I will either continue to stay hungry because I don't have enough to share, or I will make enough for both of us. And you don't visit without getting refreshments. I dig out something. At the very least, it's tea. Very often it's tea and popcorn. And if I'm doing well and I've got stuff like cookies and treats, I drag it out. If I've been making marzipan, you'll get some. I make an effort to be nice to people. If you're in a tight spot, I'll help you out. If you're a single mother and you're feeling tired and your house is dirty and you go on Facebook, it's like, oh, I'm so tired and I've been so busy lately and I just can't get my house cleaned. I'll get on my bicycle and ride over to your house and clean it for you. Just like that. I once painted a house for a woman because she was a tenant and her landlord couldn't be bothered to paint, and it needed a paint job, and she was there with her children, and it was needed. So I just did it. Seriously. I painted her whole freaking interior. Just to be a nice person. I give presents without ever expecting anything in return, except that you'll like me more. Really, it's all about being liked. It's all about being a nice person. I just want to be a nice person. But I don't say please as often as I should. And I don't make polite noises at people, and I don't remember your birthday. I don't give you birthday cards and birthday presents. If you're very important to me and I really want you to know that, I will make an effort to figure out when your birthday is and do something for it. But you have to be someone that I'm feeling really, really in deficit towards. It's like, man, that person's been so good to me and so often, and I really ought to do something nice for them. Then I might do something. Same goes with Christmas, but I'm not going to give you presents just because it's socially expected. And that's the thing. I don't do the social expectations. I have known so many people who say please and thank you and by your leave and if you may and gee, I hope you don't mind, while they run roughshod over other people's lives, passive-aggressive controlling, flat-out bullying. Oh, come on, it's just a joke. Can't you take a joke? Men who go, oh, baby, please get me that. Thank you so much, baby. Come here, let me get you. And then they cop a feel. These are not nice people. Just because you use nice language doesn't make you a nice person. And nice people shouldn't have to use nice language to get your approval. It's empty speech. It's something that the ruling classes did with each other. And we've done away with so much of that. We no longer call each other Mr. and Mrs., which was a beautiful way of letting someone know when they were important to you. You could say, oh, call me by my first name. It's Yoli. Instead of Mrs. Because I feel like you're an intimate. I feel like we're closer friends than that. No, everybody, right down to the paper boy, gets to call you by your first name. The bratty, snotty little kid next door. Yoli, you must think you're something special. I'll go walking through your garden if I want to. And I'm making that up. That has never actually happened. That is not an experience that I'm relating. That is an imaginary moment to illustrate a point. I have been criticized many times on online forums and in person for not using enough polite speech to hedge my words. That, I have an opinion to say, and I say it, and I don't say it apologetically enough. I don't go, oh, well, see, polite speech, and it's just me, it's just my opinion, please, I realize I could be wrong, and, everybody has their own feelings about this, and not to put anything on your feelings, please, don't mistake me. I'm probably wrong anyway, but I hope you can forgive me. I just have to tell you this. Polite speech is a waste of breath, and it's a waste of mental energy, and it's a waste of time, and it's fake, and it's a way of covering up being really flippin' rude to each other. Ooh, I'm salty. That's a new expression, and I love it. It's salty is it might actually be an old term, but we've never really had a word to specifically describe that mood where you're tired of taking the nonsense, where you're tired of playing the stupid little games. Speaking of etiquette and courtesy, it used to be a rule that in polite company, which is to say people that you don't have understandings with, you didn't speak about sex, politics, or religion. You didn't speak about sex for the same reason you don't now. It puts people on the spot and makes them uncomfortable because it's probably a prelude to sexual harassment. And or, where you're trying to get somebody to sleep with you when they clearly don't want to. Or you're talking about, you're doing kiss and tell, you're gossiping and slandering somebody for having a sexual appetite. Politics, well, now that the American politics are dominated by somebody so fractious and it's ripping the country apart, I think you can understand why not talking about politics in polite company is a big deal. No good can come of it. We all have opinions, and we're all wrong, and we're all right, and it's all the time, and we've all got a point, and none of us is right, and none of us is wrong, and you can get into some really bitter fights. You can destroy friendships, and sure and heck you can rip communities apart. So, I mean, if you're good friends with someone and you both have an understanding, you kind of know where each other stand on the subject, and you want to sit down and have a jaw about it and have a little rant together, that's one thing. But when husband and wife are ripped apart because one person likes this kind of politics and one person likes that kind of politics, well, personally, I think that's the capitalist agenda of weakening us, because the more you separate us from each other, the weaker we get. And so divisiveness is the word of the day, from the sexual wars, feminism and the revolution, to intergenerational disagreements, the generation gap, they called it, to political ideological wars, to religious wars. It's not enough that those people are Christian and those people are Muslim and those people are Buddhist. No, you got to be what type of Christian, what type of Muslim, what type of Buddhist. And Judeo-Christian Muslim are all the same darn religion, too. That's the funniest thing. They all come from the Book of Moses. They all come from a root which, if you actually read about it, involves a bunch of betrayal and dishonesty and theft and rape and murder. It's, the heroes in the Book of Moses were some nasty, nasty people who just ran roughshod over the Middle East, stealing and killing and enslaving people. They burned their way through. And yet, those three religions are still fighting over who's right. None of you? And so you don't talk about religion either. So what's left to talk about? You might all have an interest in sports, and you could talk about, who won the last race, or your favorite player, or your favorite team. Maybe. Maybe you shouldn't. It depends on how passionate you are about it. You can talk about your hobbies. Now, if nobody there shares my hobby, then I'm not going to be able to talk much about it. I do actually have a problem finding polite conversational topics. The weather's boring, let's face it. I mean, it's good for a little bit, but it's not really good for much. I like to talk about dogs, but not everybody likes dogs. I like to talk about animals, but not everybody likes it. I like to talk about the environment, but now we're getting political, and now I'm telling people what to do and what not to do and how to behave and making them feel guilty. So I really do, most of the time when I get on a topic, I'm really just lecturing and instructing and communicating my knowledge, and that's not fun for anybody else either. So I gotta say, I do have a lot of trouble talking. I do like it when you take over the conversation and ramble on about yourself. Not if what you have to say is a litany of complaints, where really what you're hoping is that I will walk into your life and give you freebies and make things less horrible for a moment, and you're really just a sympathy addict. I don't like that. But you want to talk about what's great in your life, I actually do like that. I don't consider it bragging. It's actually nice to just sit back and listen to someone be happy for a little while. I like that. It can get a little boring at times, but I really get tired of listening to your kids' accomplishments. But hey, I don't mind that. I consider that part of the contract of friendship, that sometimes you're going to bore me to tears, and sometimes I'm going to bore you to tears, and we're both going to smile and nod and not pick up our phone and start playing a game. Yeah, that's been happening to me lately. I finally have a friend who's young enough to do that, and it's actually annoying. It's not real annoying, and I get it, and I don't mind a lot. But I do get also why a lot of people do mind it. It feels a little intrusive, really, when someone sits there playing games instead of talking to you or listening to you. But maybe they are listening. It doesn't really matter. I'm just talking to talk, right? Same as you. It's not really all that important if they're listening. As long as they fake listening, you're happy, right? Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Huh. And really, for me, the point of friendship has more to do with being able to share enjoyable things with someone else so that it's twice as enjoyable. Coupled with knowing that when you're in a tight spot, there's somebody who's going to come and give you a hand. To me, that's what friendship is for. Someone's going to be there when you're sick or down or tired or need an extra hand to hold up a piece of plywood or whatever. And someone's going to be there when you want to dance, when you want to show something happy, when you want to eat cotton candy with them, when you want to roast marshmallows over your wood stove in your bus. That's what friends are for. They're not there to listen to you whine all damn day. Get over it. I get it. It hurts. It's awful. Life sucks. We've all got something to complain about. Man, did I used to complain. Nothing but complaining. And I know why I complained. I complained because I genuinely thought that if I complained enough, someone out there would come up with a solution. And one day I finally figured it out. They're not. They either don't care, or they're helpless, or they're too mired in their own problems. Any one of the above. They're not going to solve it. GoFundMe and Patreon, these are really nice options for whiny people, because you can write up a really good whine on GoFundMe, complain that you need money to pay for your vet bills, and by golly, people will step up and solve your problems. It's amazing. And I daily think to myself, I really ought to do that. I got to run a GoFundMe for this. I got to run a GoFundMe for that. And I don't, because I'm not broke enough. I don't know. It seems like it waters down the thing when you start using it for stuff that you should be budgeting for. If Dan's truck died tomorrow and there was just no way to fix it, I think I'd be willing to run a GoFundMe for that. If the tree fell through my house and insurance didn't cover it, I'd run a GoFundMe for that. But not for my vet bills and my dentistry and my bus. I keep thinking to myself, God, if I could run a GoFundMe for my bus, just specifically request a solar system or something, wouldn't that be awesome? And it's like, no, that bus is a luxury. It's a fun item. It's a toy. I might not think of it as a toy or a luxury because I think of it as my future, but that doesn't change the fact that on the whole, really, it's a toy. It's not on a rush. So I'm not going to run a GoFundMe for it. I'm not going to run a GoFundMe for my medical supplies after cancer, no matter how good an excuse it is. It's like, wow, I had cancer and now I have a colostomy and you wouldn't believe how expensive those bags are. No, I'm not going to do it. The government's already paying half the cost of those bags and they're still bloody expensive, and I still owe the company some money, but we'll get it paid. We'll pay it. My husband works hard. He makes enough money. We'll get it sorted out. I could run a GoFundMe for our bills. Oh, we've got some bills. Some really scary ones. We've got phone calls coming in 4 times a day from one of my creditors. We'll get there. We'll get there. Or we'll solve that problem. But we're not going to solve it through charity. It just doesn't seem right. If I was on welfare, maybe. But it's, I don't know, too damned ethical for my own good. That's what I mean when I say I'm a nice person. I may not say please and thank you enough. I may not couch my language in polite speech and words, but my God, I'm actually a really nice person. I'm a generous person. I'm a kind person. I'm a giving person. I'm a compassionate person. I have empathy. I don't have sympathy, but I have empathy. I'll bend over backwards to help you out. I don't think I can literally bend over backwards anymore. It's been a year since I tried. Maybe. The last time I did it, I couldn't quite make it down to the ground, I think. I could probably get there again if I really want to. I really need to start doing some fitness. Anyway, so my topic today was polite speech. It's pointless. Stop asking it of each other. It's great when you run into someone who does it, but don't call them a nice person because they use polite speech. Call them a nice person because they do nice things. Bullies use polite speech too. It doesn't count for much. It's just noise. It just means that you have a really effective social language module in your head. It doesn't mean you're actually not being a selfish person. It doesn't mean you're, because someone says our thoughts or prayers are with you, doesn't mean they're actually helping you in any way. Polite speech is empty noise. It's just noise. Actions are something. Don't just make a lot of noise. You don't have to do something for me, and you don't have to follow my causes. I may be into the environment and animals, and you may be into children and religion. That's groovy. That's cool. Do something. Be active. Don't just sit there and say you're a nice person because you have all the right words in your speech. It doesn't count. It doesn't count. You know what counts? Tossing a can into the food bank bin. That counts. Stuff like that. Just do. Go shovel someone's sidewalk. Go rake someone's leaves. Stop in on a shut-in and bring them some cookies or whatever they eat. Okay. Go be nice.